Next thing we're going to do is add some color changes that will occur during this timeline. So you're going to create 2 overall color changes for the composition to happen along this timeline. The first color change is that the composition actually will be grayscale when it starts, and then it's going to transition to full color. The second color change will correspond to the moment when the 3D strikes the ball. So let's reset the playhead to the beginning of the timeline. Make sure your motion graphics layer is your active layer. I'm going to undock my layers panel. And in the adjustment areas, we're going to add a black-white adjustment layer. In the timeline panel, let's position the playhead just after motion graphics starts to move. So that's that diamond right there, sends that into motion. So I'm going to do it a little bit after that. I'm going to turn down the options for the black and white adjustment, and I need to set an opacity keyframe at this location. So what this means is the black and white adjustment at this spot, its opacity is at 100%. I'm now going to reposition that playhead to be about 2 seconds later, and at this point I want that black and white adjustment to no longer be visible. So I'm going to add another opacity keyframe at that spot, and in my layers panel drop the opacity of that layer to 0. So now at 6 seconds for me, full color is visible. I'm going to reset my playhead, click the play button, and watch. It starts in motion, and now the color fades in. For the next color transition, let's position the playhead at the point where the ball and 3D come in contact with each other. So for me, that's right here. So at this spot in the layers panel, we're going to click and hold, and we're going to add an invert adjustment layer. So what we want is for this invert to appear only at this spot. So instead of doing keyframes, we can also just do it with the track. So I'm going to resize this track so that it starts right at the spot where the playhead is. All right, save your document, and let's see what it looks like. So I'm going to use my button, start it from the beginning, hit play. So here things are in motion, color starts shifting. And at the point where the ball gets hit by 3D, the colors are inverted. Let's reset our playhead once again to the beginning of the timeline. The next thing I want to show you is how to have effects come in and out with the timeline as well. So in that layers panel, let's make sure our ball layer is our active layer. And let's add a new blank layer by clicking on the button in the layers panel. And we're going to name this layer frame. Using any color you want for the foreground color, let's go to edit and fill. And I'm just going to fill using that foreground color. With that layer active, let's add a bevel and emboss effect from the effects area. And we're going to use an inner bevel. It's going to be set to chisel hard. I want a size of 40, and the direction is set for down. And click OK. To only have the bevel effect visible and not the actual pixels from the layer, let's change the fill opacity in the layers panel to 0. So when you drop that, you're going to start being able to see the desktop and whatever's behind this layer, but you still can see the effect. Let's set the playhead to a spot where the color has returned, but it hasn't quite yet made contact with the ball. For this frame layer, turn down the little triangle. We're going to set an opacity keyframe at this spot. Let's position now the playhead at the beginning of the timeline. We're going to set yet another opacity keyframe for the frame layer. And now change the opacity of the layer also to 0. So right now you shouldn't be able to see anything about this frame layer. We're going to go ahead and play the animation. Here things start coming in. You can start seeing the effect becoming visible. 3D hits motion graphics. Now the color becomes visible. hits the ball, finishes off. So what step do we also need to do? Well, I need to lengthen the time on that frame. So I'm going to grab the edge of that frame and I'll pull it all the way to the end and play the animation again. Color transfers. Now the effect is full up and the effect will stay visible through the rest of the animation.